And welcome back to the Five Spot, a new episode of recapping the games that happened either this past weekend, the Monday night football game versus the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Chargers. We also sit down with head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, a guy that I know very well, and the reason he's an Hall of Fame coach is because of my success. But we'll dig deep into a lot of different things throughout the whole series. But more importantly, let's start with this Monday night football game, the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Chargers. A lot of explosive plays in this game. This was a kind of revenge game for Dallas by the way that they played against San Francisco. I think Dak Prescott was able to show that he's the leader of this football team, that he can play at a tier one type of level at the quarterback position defensively. I've seen them doing some really good things in Dallas. But more importantly, this was more of a game for Mike McCarthy versus his former assistant coach that's now with the Chargers. The battle between who can run offense and who can end up winning the game at the end. Armando, when you watched this game Monday night, what was the thing that stuck out in your mind when we got toward that second half where things got a little tight?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you for making Andy Reid a great coach. We all know that he was just merely another quarterback coach before you got your hands on him, developed him, turned him into who he is today. So congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I have failed to mention that previously. Unfortunately, I wonder why. Unfortunately for the kids in Los Angeles, Justin Herbert has not been able to develop your favorite head coach, Brandon Staley, into a prodigious and proficient NFL head coach. He is, however, very good at spinning. And Donovan, after his team lost yesterday, and now they're 2-3.
Right.
He basically explained the game as these were two teams, two high-level teams, his quote, air quotes, that played really, really good.
Really, really good. That's going to help you win
Two
games in the
high-level
NFL.
teams that are really, really good. And so they're 2-3.
Right.
They're not really. It's just spin with this guy 1 week after another on spin. Oddly enough, yesterday I actually agreed with him. There was a 4th and 1 and he kicked a field goal. He didn't do stupid stuff. I actually agreed with the guy, and I would have agreed with him, honestly, if he had gone for it, because he wasn't on his own 24-yard line like earlier this season. He was on, on the plus 20. So look, Brandon Staley, defend him. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll defend him. I'll give him a little bit of love. I thought the beard game was tight. I can see where this season already is leading him to growing his beard now. He got it cleaned up and edged up the right way. He did make some good decisions. I thought on that 4th down when they did go for it in the red zone, which led to a touchdown, I thought that was a smart decision. I thought they had momentum, and he took full advantage of it by getting Justin Herbert on the outside. The thing that sticks out to me more in this particular game is I'll go to the Dallas side. They just can't run the football. And I think when we got into this offseason and everyone was talking about Tony Pollard being he can be a feature back, I didn't believe that. I thought he was more of an explosive back that you can bring in on 2nd and 3rd down, run some screens, get them in one-on-ones versus linebackers and safeties. But to be able to carry the ball possibly 20 to 25 times a game, that's just not him. And so when I watch this run game, it's non-existent to the point where your play action game is irrelevant. And so now we're just getting back to the drop back game. And I thought Dak Prescott handled it very well all game by featuring who we all expected, CeeDee Lamb, and then Cooks. Two guys that, number one is CeeDee Lamb being your number one receiver. Number two, you brought Cooks in to stretch the field this offseason, and he's become a reliable source for Dak Prescott. Now, defensively, against San Francisco, they were non-existent. I mean, we had Micah Parsons on the same side as Trent Williams, and that part just became erased by Trent Williams. Now they put him on the opposite side in the Los Angeles Chargers game, and he doesn't get a big play until they really need it, and that was in that fourth quarter. So I look at it in a sense for Gus Bradley and that defense. His main guys that we expected on defense to step up being Michael Parsons and Gilmore, and they did that to secure the win.
So my problem with the Dallas Cowboys, and it's not to make an excuse for Dak Prescott, but the way I see it, CeeDee Lamb is a good wide receiver, but I don't think he's a number one NFL wide receiver at this point. Tony Pollard is a good running back, but I don't think he's a number one NFL running back at this point. Jake Ferguson, I guess he's okay at tight end.
But he's not a number two. He's a number 2B.
Right. So what do you have? You have the quarterback who gets it all on his shoulders, Dak Prescott.
Right.
Being asked to make plays with guys who, in my estimation, are not number one playmakers. That's hard. And you know where that kind of shows up the most? In the red zone, because that's where guys gotta win. You gotta win because the defense is not afraid of what's going to happen behind them. So you gotta win, and not just that, you gotta win fast.
Right.
You have to. It's not defeat the opponent; it's eviscerate the opponent, because there's no time otherwise. And these guys, I don't believe that they are eviscerate the opponent kind of guys, at all. And so that's what I think is the Cowboys' problem. It didn't show up big time this game, but it is who they are.
It has over the last couple of weeks, and that's why they've been having struggles in the red zone, is because they can't. First of all, they can't pick up 3 yards on a run. They can't pick up 3 more yards on second down. So now you find yourself closer to the end zone, but they decide to pass the ball, and no one is really clearly getting open consistently. Now, he's missed some throws. Don't get me wrong. He's missed some throws in the Arizona game. He missed some throws early on, I think, in that Giants game. And so we can pinpoint what Dak Prescott has been missing and what he's been failing at. But in actuality, they haven't had great play calling in the red zone. And that's why they've been lacking success. And so moving over to the Chargers, I mean, now you start to look at the way their offense is flowing, and they do have number one receivers. I mean, Allen is a number one receiver. They're missing Mike Williams, who's out with injury. I'm thinking with a torn ACL, he's out for the year. But Palmer's good. Their tight end Everett's good. Austin Eckler is an explosive back that I think they're going to have issues with him this offseason, because they have to pay Austin Eckler by the way that he's been explosive in this offense. But they can't seem to close either. And so is it more of Kellen Moore now bringing that Dallas mystique over to the Chargers? Because you can put up great numbers between the tens, but if you can't close games at the end, then you're going to find yourself pretty much having stats like Dak Prescott had last year. And then now we'll be talking about Justin Herbert turning the football over or not being able to close at the end.
Yeah, they're beat up front. And so I see a lot of Herbert having to, he takes the football, which is always out of the shotgun because he's got a bad finger. He can't be under center because he's got a bad finger. I would show you the finger that is bad, but I think it's.
Yeah, I think we'll pass on that one. Yeah, we'll
it
pass
would be
on that
taken wrong if people watching if I gave you the finger that was bad
one.
for Justin Herbert. The point being, he's always running for his life, and he's always throwing on the run, it seems like.
Right.
And he's not that accurate throwing on the run. I mean,
Right.
he's very accurate, when he's
in the pocket.
Right, exactly. Or sometimes when he rolls out, stops, collects, and then throws, right?
Right.
But that's not, I guess, real world. You're probably thinking, I played the game, you stupid ass. That's not how it is.
Hey, PlayStation makes everybody a coach.
Okay, fair. Fair. Okay. You made Andy Reid a great coach. PlayStation made me a great coach. What can I tell you?
hey, let's go ahead and move on to another note. We'll talk about coaches and their antics. How about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Jets? Now, there's no more undefeated teams in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles, which I think everyone in America thought that they would just kind of pounce all over the New York Jets. And then the same goes for San Francisco out with Cleveland, which Cleveland's defense, I think, is underrated. One of the best defenses in the NFL. So that was going to be a challenge because it was more of the two top defenses, I thought, versus an explosive offense in a sense from San Francisco, but still with a semi-unproven quarterback in Purdy, to now bringing your third quarterback in for Cleveland to win that game. But let's move back into New York with the Philadelphia Eagles. When I look at that particular game, to me, offensively, Philadelphia looked way out of sync. They threw the ball 40 plus times in that game, didn't run the football more than 20 times. DeAndre Swift didn't get enough carries. I thought they went into pass mode versus another top defense in the Jets that was missing Sauce Gardner and a few other guys on defense. But I look at Philadelphia, and I felt it was a trap game, but I never mentioned it on our last show because I felt like it was one of those games where they ride down to New York on the bus, they overlook the Jets a little bit. And then Robert Saleh in his comments really tells you the confidence he has on one side of the ball and not on the other. When he makes the comment about they've embarrassed some of the top and pretty much elite quarterbacks that they've competed against in the Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, also, obviously what we've seen in Buffalo with their quarterback, and then the list goes on. But then it's like more about their defense, and they lose the game, than talking about your quarterback. Because really, to be honest, their quarterback's playing pretty well, if you ask me.
Okay. So we've embarrassed these guys comment.
Right.
I can see the coach coming off the field, after this huge upset victory at home, and feeling himself, and the adrenaline is still pumping. And then he says something that, by the way, this morning he walked back. So so he walked it back. And the reason he walked it back is because it's not true.
Right.
So let's take that for a minute. Number one, they played Russell Wilson. The Jets did. Did they embarrass him? No. Russell Wilson had 103.7 quarterback rating in the game, threw 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions. They played Mac Jones, and Mac Jones has had a hard, tough, bad season. But did the Jets embarrass him? No. He threw a touchdown. His rating was at 86, I think. Dak Prescott, they played him. Did they embarrass him? No. Dak Prescott threw 2 touchdowns. His rating was 112 for the game. My point to you is he was feeling himself, and he needs to stop feeling himself in public. Let's just say that right here.
That's
now.
Locker room talk.
Yeah, right. On the other hand, if you're thinking that your defense embarrassed the quarterbacks, and they did embarrass some, including Jalen Hurts, including Josh Allen,
Right.
including Patrick Mahomes, really, then what is your quarterback? What's been happening to him? Because
Exactly.
because I mean, against Dallas, where you think you embarrassed Dak, he had a quarterback rating of 38. So you tell me who was embarrassed that day. He's had some good games. He played well against the Chiefs. He played well enough against the Eagles. But if you're going to say those things, they're going to balance out, because people will turn your words. Those dang reporters will turn your words towards your team, and they better hold up, or you're going to end up like today, walking it back on national television.
Well, the tough part, again, I think that's conversation that you have in the locker room when you're talking amongst your team. That's not something that you bring out to the media, which now becomes public. I thought he was definitely feeling himself. I thought defensively, they didn't do anything spectacular. I thought Philadelphia, one, did not run the football. Jalen Hurts started to get a little happy feet in the pocket, which that's easy to clean up. Also, I felt like he was trying to force the ball in situations where he had some other guys open. And then this is the thing that I brought up just recently, talking to some of the local radio stations and also radio station in Philly. I thought after the kind of spat on the sideline with AJ Brown, Nick Sirianni, and then Jalen got involved a little bit, complaining about not getting the ball and being involved. I thought ever since then it's become more trying to force feed AJ Brown and not reading over the defense, spreading the ball around. Devontae Smith hasn't been involved as much as he was before. They started kind of fading away a little bit more of the run game. Where DeAndre Swift would get 15 carries, Gainwell would get maybe 10 carries, and then obviously Jalen Hurts would probably get about 8 or 9. But I just thought they got away from the downhill running attack with DeAndre Swift, was made them successful. The utilizing the tight ends in the middle of the football field and being able to allow your quarterback to read over the coverage, because in that Jets game, he missed out on a lot of checkdowns. There were a lot of guys underneath coverage that was wide open where he decided to force feed the ball. And so I think going forward, that's something that's got to be a point of emphasis for their coaching staff as well as for Jalen Hurts in order for them to turn this passing game around.
So if let's play this out and use some critical thinking here. If this is true, and it absolutely looks like it is, the whole AJ Brown, feed me the ball or I'll make a scene on the sideline. Okay, we're going to do just that type of thing. Number one, that makes AJ Brown a bad teammate, in my opinion, because now you've caused a problem that wasn't there before for the offense.
Right.
Because you want your individual stuff, you've caused an issue for the offense. That's number one. Number two, it shines a bad light on Jalen and Sirianni and the offensive coordinator, because at some point someone should have sat down AJ Brown and said, my brother, we love you. You are a stud and you are going to get yours. You will not be hungry at the end of this year. You will be fed, but not at the expense of the greater good, not at the expense of the offense scoring points, which is more important than you getting yours.
Well, I think yes, it can become toxic if it carries over, where things like this now trickle into each and every game over the next 4 to 5 weeks. But I think for Jalen, he's going to have to just get back to reading over coverage and spreading the ball around. And if AJ Brown has 5 catches and Devontae has 4 or 5 catches, and their tight ends and Dallas Goedert gets 4 catches, and DeAndre Swift has 18 carries, and they run 70 plays and put up 480 yards in the game, and he happens to be upset about that. Well, as a quarterback, it's like, look, we're trying to win ball games. I'm not here to kind of pad stats and then all of a sudden we're losing games because I'm trying to force feed you the ball. And as a quarterback, I mean, I've been in that situation. You gotta get back to what you need to do in order to win. Yes, everybody on the outside would say they need to feed him the ball more, get him more involved. Yeah, but if you're spreading the ball and everyone's being effective and helping you get positive yards, which will lead to touchdowns, that's what it's about. That's what this game is about. And so I think for this football team, yes, AJ Brown is a major part of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't need to throw him the ball. They need to get him the ball, absolutely. But they also need to utilize their other weapons and get them involved to help them win games as well.
The most shocking thing about that Jets victory was they won the game with 4 of their top 6 corners out.
Yes.
And including their 2 starting corners out. And still they had 3 interceptions of Jalen Hurts. That to me was shocking.
Well, let's move over to Cleveland, because it was almost the same situation, because although they had rainy conditions, it was one in which the defense kind of dictated what was going to happen with San Francisco, and then they end up losing McCaffrey, which scored a touchdown. I think his streak continues on as far as touchdowns that he's played 15 straight touchdowns, 15 straight games with a touchdown, I believe. They lose Deebo Samuels, and we can go into his whole kind of spat that happened before the game with Cleveland until Trent Williams came in and Deebo'd the whole defense, the secondary that started with Deebo Samuels. But I just think this was a game in which I think everyone in the world was waiting to see Brock Purdy play. Now, Brock Purdy has been playing at an elite level. He's been MVP candidate, and rightfully so. He's been playing at that top tier level, which his weapons on the outside, as well as McCaffrey, has been very effective so far leading up into this particular point. But I pose the question for you, Armando. If Deshaun Watson played in that game, would have been different in your eyes? Meaning Cleveland controlling the ball and controlling the clock and being more of a threat in the passing game than they did this past weekend?
I think it could go either direction, because if Deshaun Watson is in that game, he wants to throw the ball and they want to throw the ball. Right. And maybe it goes well because Deshaun Watson is good. Yeah. And maybe it doesn't, because Deshaun Watson has had times, a lot of them, right, in Cleveland where he hasn't been good. And now you're giving the other team more opportunities. But you said something about Brock Purdy that is interesting to me. So you said he's been playing elite, and you're right. He's been playing elite when everything is going his way.
Oh, everybody healthy and everyone there.
Correct.
Yeah.
This game, McCaffrey goes down, Deebo goes out for a while, and all of a sudden the guy who's been playing elite didn't look elite anymore. And to me, an elite quarterback lifts the people around him, not the other way around. Brock Purdy has been lifted by the people around him. They admit this. He admits this. Right. But if it doesn't make Brock Purdy a bad quarterback, right, but it makes him not elite when he can't take a team that is missing some of its pieces and grant you some of its best pieces and still perform and still win the game. And he would say, well, we didn't win the game because we missed a 41-yard field goal at the end. I don't care. I look at the results and I'm saying you didn't win the game and you scored way below your average for the season. And so at some point, it's not about, Brock Purdy benefiting from all these guys. It's about Brock Purdy benefiting the guys that are on the field for me.
Well, you're absolutely right. And remember, I said he was playing at an elite level. I never said he was elite. I never said he was the top top tier type of quarterback. And so it's not his fault he's surrounded by great talent. I think Ayuk has been playing at a great level for them. He's shockingly over the last year and a half elevated his game. We know about Kittles, we know about Samuels, we know about McCaffrey. And when you lose Samuels and McCaffrey, yes, you still have Kittles and you still have Ayuk. And so that's more on Kyle Shanahan of trying to put, those guys in situations to be effective for him in that passing game. But there are a lot of balls that were behind, a lot of balls that were short. And we can say the weather conditions of what it was at this particular point, because he's going to have to play again on the East Coast. He's going to have to play in the Midwest. He's going to have to play in those games where weather conditions are going to be bad. So we'll see going forward what actually transpires from that particular deal. But let's stick more into the AFC and the debacle to me in Buffalo. The Giants just seem to have the black cat running around the sideline. They just can't seem to get anything going. And Tyrod Taylor, to be honest with you, I thought he played well. He managed the game. I thought he got the ball out to his receivers. Waller got more involved. You start to see their wide receivers step up. Hyatt stepped up. I thought Saquon Barkley looked great coming off of an ankle injury. Driving the ball down the field consistently against Buffalo. But I thought that halftime call, but right before halftime, that was more on Tyrod Taylor of checking to that because he felt like they had a running lane for Saquon Barkley. Do you think that cost them the game, or was it more toward the end that the referees blew it at the end?
So I think the Giants outplayed the Bills, and I think the Giants outcoached the Bills. But the Bills had their starting quarterback in the game, and when things went terrible, he made plays.
He made 2 plays in that game.
Exactly. And the Giants had their backup quarterback in the game, and grant you, a very experienced backup quarterback, but he made a terrible mistake just before halftime, a mental mistake, apparently, right?
Right.
And at the end of the game, he couldn't make the play to seal a victory. So there's that. But I come out of that feeling not great about the Bills because they got outcoached and they got outplayed by a 1-5 team, and their offense looks wrong. Their offense looks like it's drawn in the dirt. It doesn't. The stuff we have doesn't work, and so when things get ugly, let's let Josh Allen run around and figure something out, and he'll make a pass that no other human on earth can make, and we'll try to pull it out that way. And that doesn't work, especially not in the postseason. It doesn't work. And so this drawn in the dirt, it lacks precision. It lacks consistency, obviously. Josh, the play, hey, Josh to Stephon Diggs on 2. That play doesn't always work.
Pretty much.
So it bothers me about the Bills a little bit. The Giants, that was a great coaching job, I thought, by them, by Wink Martindale on defense. I thought that was great. By Brian Daboll on offense, I thought that was good. Obviously they don't reap the benefits, but they get the big Armando star.
Well, I mean, even with that, and I'm gonna give him a little bit of credit too, because it's been easy to talk bad about what's been going on over there. I thought again, Saquon Barkley looked good coming off the ankle injury. I thought Waller stepped up and became the guy that we all seen in Las Vegas to be able to be a staple in this offense at the tight end position. I thought Hyatt, a rookie from Tennessee, stepped his game up. I've seen a lot of pieces that we didn't see earlier in the season because everyone talked, well, they don't have any weapons, they have no receivers. But I've seen receivers getting open. I've seen their slot receiver, I think it's number 17. I can't think of his name right now, but he was getting open, getting first downs in the slot. So I've seen valuable pieces that Daniel Jones can take advantage of. And to be honest, I hate this term when people use it. When you're hurt, you get a chance to watch from the sideline of the guys that you actually are working with, and you get a chance to see their strengths. I don't believe in that, but I thought that that was something that Daniel Jones could see himself from the sideline. These guys getting open and Tyrod feeding the ball to him and them making plays for their football team. So I just think for the Giants, it's something positive going forward. I know you don't want to hear that after you're 1-5, but there is something positive. But for Buffalo, I think more of the piece of losing Leslie Frazier as their defensive coordinator and Sean McDermott calling plays on defense is starting to hurt them a little bit. Not that Sean can't call plays because he did in Carolina. It's the reason he got the head coaching job with Buffalo. But I think losing Leslie Frazier and his identity with that defense has started to hurt them a little bit. And now offensively, they're asked to do a lot more.
It's weird that Leslie Frazier wasn't hired
As a head coach?
Well, even as a defensive coordinator by someone else. There's a lot of bad defense.
Stepped away. Didn't he step away himself? He stepped down for whatever reasons.
Yeah, he stepped away. Wink, wink. We're not firing you. You can step away, kind of thing. Do you agree with that? Yeah, you still be under contract. Okay. That's the kind of step away I think it was because
gotcha.
Yeah, I think that was one of those. But that dude can coach.
He can. I had him in Minnesota as a head coach. He's more of a coordinator than a head coach. And
fair.
I've known Leslie since I was a rookie. He was with me in Philadelphia. Smart guy, played the game, understands it from the safety position and also from a coach's standpoint. So major respect for Leslie, but I think they definitely are missing Leslie. But let's move on to staying in the AFC, and we got a great interview coming up with a guy that I know very well. A lot of us called him Santa Claus at times with the big mustache. Big Red, head coach of Kansas City Chiefs. I sat down with him and got a chance to get a little deeper in the details with a lot of different things that are going on in Kansas City. Joined by a close friend and mentor, and he's the second coach to come on to the show because he was too big time to be the first. Andy Reid is joining us with starting the season out very hot, I should say, after the first game. Coach, what has been different this season with your quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, knowing he's now labeled as a veteran?
Yeah, no, he is a veteran. He it's his sixth year starting here, and you can tell he's got a bunch of young receivers working with those guys. He's really taking them under his wing, and that's new for him. I mean, that's a new experience for him, and I like the way he's handling it. He spends time during practice, during special teams. If the guys aren't on that particular special teams, they go over with him and work on things, and he talks to them constantly. So that's probably the biggest thing I'd tell you.
Speaking of the wide receivers, you look at Tony. You have a lot of young guys, a lot of newer guys to the system. I remember when we first kind of got going, and we all were young at that particular time and didn't really have many vets that have been in that offense. But knowing you have a secured offensive line, your running game has been effective over the last season and two. Just what has been different from this wide receiver position? Do you have a guy that can step up and be the guy?
Yeah, I think we got a couple of them. Rashee Rice is doing a nice job. Kadarius Toney, I mean, as familiar as his name is, really hasn't made it through necessarily a season yet since he's been in, and he's only been in a couple of years. So that's a positive that he's working so hard and doing the things he's doing. So and then you've got Ross, who also is a young guy from Clemson. It came out when we got him. He needed surgery on his foot, so he had that. And every week he's getting better. And he's a big kid. He's like 6'4". He's a huge kid. And so they blend in with Watson and Kadarius. MVS. I mean,
Yeah.
they blend in with those two guys, and then Sky is another one that
I like Scott.
he's been. Yeah, Sky's been in 1 year, so this is
Right.
his second year here, and he's getting better. So that whole young group is. I like the way they're improving.
Tell me about your defense. Obviously, when you get the heavy hitter back in the middle and Jones, and then Steve Spagnuolo dialing up a lot of blitzes and playing man on the outside. What has been different about this defense now? Because I've seen a lot of changes, obviously with Clark on and the list over the last couple of years, but just have been a staple of this football team that I think is overlooked.
Yeah, Don. I mean, Spags does a great job, as you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then you look at our secondary. That's probably where I'd start with it. Those were like our receivers this year. That's what they were last year. Young guys, and they've all played together now and have worked their game and kind of been through a year of things of a kind of an up and down year.
Mm-hmm.
So you could tell during training camp that the zones are all tighter, the man coverage is tighter.
Right.
And then you add the pressure that we're able to generate either through our front four or Spags adding an extra guy or two. That even makes it better for them on the back end. So it's worked out well. And then, our linebackers don't get quite as much credit for what they do as the rest of the group, but that's really a good group. Maybe one of the better groups I've been around. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to ask the question, which is annoying to me, but have you become a Swifty?
You know what? Like you, I mean, I knew her from Philadelphia. I think her dad was a big NFL fan. So I had met her when she was real young and her dad. And so, I joked about setting Kelsey up, but I mean, I'm just saying, you never know.
See, that's something people don't know, that you know her dad. Because
Yeah,
a lot of
right.
times she sitting in the box, she looks confused of what's going on, but she cheers with the rest of all the family members.
Yeah, she's a good girl, man. She's into it, and that's we're glad she's here.
Good. Just overall in where Kansas City is right now. Obviously, with baseball, had their ups and downs. You guys have carried the load over the last 5 years or so. Just tell us a little bit about the fan base out there in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, you and I played here before, so I mean, it's they're crazy. It's loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's older stadium, but the acoustics are like crazy. The fans are right on top of you.
Absolutely.
And things get tremendously loud. So I love it. I mean, I love the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably as close to college as you're going to find. Just the tailgating. These guys, they get here at 4 a.m. and line up at the gate and start doing, I guess, breakfast dogs or something. But they start early, man, and get those barbecues going, throw them in the back of their pickup trucks and drive in, a few hours before the game. So it's quite an experience here.
Now, speaking of the cookouts, the barbecue, when I came out there to see you, I called the game out there. Jack Stacks is still the hot spot, or is there a new one that I need to look for?
Yeah, listen, I haven't found one I haven't liked. They've all that's a problem. That's a problem. But they've all kind of got their specialty. They've all got something special about them, and so you can try any of them. I could keep you busy for a long time. Huh?
I love my food just like you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for this week, obviously you guys played on Thursday night, and Travis was Saturday Night Live in it, and at the Eagles game. What should we expect this weekend from you guys?
Yeah, well, we've got the Chargers coming. That's always knockdown, drag out. So they're a good football team, fully loaded offensively and defensively. They're got a good coaching staff. They do a good job. It's a good organization. So we'll have to play our best against them, and so that's what we'll do this week. We'll just start working on that and making sure we've got a good game plan. Make sure that we're healthy and ready to go.
Justin Herbert This is obviously after getting his new contract, but he's kind of been in that top 5 upper tier of quarterbacks. What have you seen in his progression so far through his career?
Yeah, well, listen, I thought he was real good at Oregon, and he's done the same thing here. So in the NFL, and he's a smart, real smart kid, and he's got good size, speed, accuracy. Looks like he loves to play the game. So he's got the respect of the players, which is good too. And I just think all around he's a good football player. You know?
Last question, Coach. You look lean. What's going on out there in Kansas City? Are you changing up on me? You trying to do some modeling? What's going on?
Yeah, I've been doing some vegan barbecue.
Now, what would that entail, Coach, for the listeners, all our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, so like tofu with little barbecue sauce on it. Now that's a lie. So I still want to get into heaven. I can't be telling lies.
The tofu and the barbecue sauce. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Please tell the family I love them, man. I miss everybody. We'll get a chance to see you guys down the road. Love how you run things. Best of luck throughout the rest of the year, and appreciate you joining us here at the 5 Spot.
All right. Love you, big man.
I want to thank Coach Andy Reid for joining us here at the 5 Spot. I told him he was the second coach to come on because he became too big time, and we ended up having to get Nick Sirianni, who was undefeated at that particular time before the Jets game. But again, to recap everything that we talked about, make sure that you sit down and watch the 5 Spot here on YouTube. We're streaming live. Check us out again Friday here at the 5 Spot.